Good evening, and what is up, Razorback Nation? We are back with episode 79 of Hogs on the Hill, your go-to podcast for an in-depth dive on all things Arkansas sports. We are brought to you by our lovely friends over at Razor Pigs. Looking good, never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand, bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turning hats, they've got what you need to rep the national state with pride. Founded right here at home and now run by a Razorback-loving family, Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us. And our friends over at Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today. And if you are in Northwest Arkansas, check out the Core Brewery Tap Room in downtown Springdale, where you can get Scarlet Letter in all of its various flavors, as well as their new hard iced teas. Well, it is Thursday night. We are on the eve of the transfer portal. Arkansas basketball gets a good win the other night against James Madison. How are we feeling tonight, Zane?
Feeling pretty good. Next couple of days will that'll either change or feel even better. Don't know yet, but no, feeling good. Like we talked about last time, James Madison definitely early on thought there was going to be some trouble. Like I had said previously, like with our post, it was going to be challenging how they tackled those, and those first couple of possessions by them. I know there's a real good baseline spin move by their post guy, and immediately I was like, here we go. Here's some good post work, and let's see what we can do. But, they took care of business and, definitely looked like they did not take it for granted. Definitely looked like they used it as a kind of a teaching stone along the way. Good to see Malik Thomas get some confidence back. Shot 6 of 10 from 3. Really needed, because we definitely need him playing well come conference play. So definitely a lot of positives to take away from that game.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is it kind of worked out to the plan like we talked about you like to see Arkansas, they came in, took care of business, won by, 29 points. Of course, Malik Thomas scoring 28, having a good game. That's what we talked about last time that we really needed to see, especially going into conference play. Yeah. And like you said, scores 28 points, shoots 8 of 16 from the field, 6 of 10 from 3, like you mentioned, 6 of 7 from the free throw line. He also adds in 2 rebounds in 27 minutes, so very efficient with his play, putting up 28 in 27 minutes. And then, looking behind him, Darius Acuff doing his thing, throwing up 17 points, 7 of 12, 3 of 6 from 3. He also added in 1 rebound, 6 assists in 30 minutes of play. And then your third leading scorer, DJ Wagner, 14 points, 4 of 8 from the field, 4 of 5 from the 3-point line, 2 of 4 from the free throw line, added in 4 assists in 26 minutes. So, a good spread there between these guys. And then, you also had Malik Ewan continuing to do his thing, putting up 11 points, going 3 of 5, and then shooting 5 of 8 from the free throw line. But his big thing, he was 1 rebound shy of a double-double in this one, had 9 rebounds.
It was good to see.
2 blocks, that's big too, and 3 steals. So, having a big man that can go in there and get you blocks and steals as well. And, I'll take it
Another big guy that can get you steals and blocks. I mean, Brazil was quiet most of the game offensively. I mean, he was 3 of 6 from the floor, only 8 points with, what we've seen the last few games from him. It was kind of not a letdown, but, I think fans were kind of expecting more points from him. But, hey, if he's going to have that kind of relegation game, I'd rather it happen in a game that's non-conference play where, hey, we can kind of afford for him to not be as on. 0-2 from 3. But even then, he still got 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and then 2 steals and 3 blocks. So even though he only had 8 points, he loaded the stat sheet up.
Right, still contributing.
So it was one of those. It was good to see him offensively. He might not have had the game he normally has been having, but good to see him kind of filling everywhere else. Another thing I really liked was seeing Billy tie for the team lead with 6 assists. That was great to see. He came in and, he had it in 21 minutes, 8.6 assists, 4 boards. Love that stat line as well. So that's one of those that I think is going to, seeing his particular stat line, it's stat lines like that that's going to make this team really tough to guard come conference play.
Right.
Because all 8 of our guys contribute super well, and all 8 of them can do their own things. And even if the ball's not falling for them, they can do other things. Also look into the game, like the team stats. we're third in the country, averaging 22 fast break points per game. We had 31 against James Madison. When we can push that tempo and mess with teams, that's when we're at our best. And I think, Billy's on ball defense. Hey, he can take out anyone's number one guy the way he's playing on ball defense. But the team as a whole is just phenomenal defensively. And I think that's going to be a big cornerstone moving forward into conference play.
100%. It's like you said, even though, say, a guy like Brazil, to your point, he only scored 8 points, but he still contributed in other areas that still helped Arkansas win and have success. Only 8 points. But, he pitches in 7 rebounds, those 3 blocks and steals. Like, it's just fantastic to see your 2 bigs combined for 5 and 5 in the blocks and steals category. So,
Yeah.
And I think, not saying Brazil necessarily took a back seat, but I think, there was more emphasis on this game and getting Malik Thomas going. And I think maybe that had part of it.
He came out hitting, and it was like, okay, let's just let him keep rolling with it.
Yeah.
Because, especially with the few games he's had lately, he hits a couple threes. You don't want to say, okay, you've had your shots, you're good now. Like, go ahead and stop. Like, no, keep shooting, get that confidence back up. And, I think the team as a whole is also good at identifying, hey, we need him to be playing well. So kind of looking for that, but also just being good at facilitating, passing the ball, getting the ball around to everyone. I mean, we also had 24 assists as a team, which love to see that. 24 assists on 34 made buckets. So that's very good ratio. I do like that a lot.
Yeah, and when you have a guy shooting 60% from 3-point in a game, you're not going to tell him to stop shooting. So
exactly. Also, I mean, 24 assists, but that's also counted as 6 turnovers. So as a team, you had a 4 assist to turnover ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot complain about that at all. That was great to see. Took care of the ball, showed some maybe not maturity in terms of just keeping up with the ball, but you show some responsibility. Hey, we're not going to turn the ball over. You kind of your bread and butter to not getting upset by teams. Take care of the ball, smart shots. I mean, they also shot 54% from 3, which we're now, I forget where we rank nationally on it, but we're up there on 3-point percentage now. And it's one of those that, hey, they can shoot the 3 and can shoot it consistently, which is nice. As of yesterday, we were 14th in the country at 39.7% from 3. So that's definitely something that this offseason coming in, I know 3-point shooting was a big concern. So I think they definitely addressed that. So it'll be interesting to see if that keeps up as conference play progresses.
Right. And you had all the hype last year and that, this was going to be a really good 3-point shooting team. All the emphasis was, we got Nelly Davis. He was a knockdown guy, and it just never really panned out. He had some games down the stretch where he kind of turned into a little bit more of the guy you expected. But, kind of with that being almost the same type of storyline this season, saying, you got some shooters, to actually see it panning out is very nice compared to, how things trended last year.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely nice to see. At this point in the season, my only concern with that is I do not want to become a live or die by the 3 type team, which with our ability to get out and push a fast break, I don't think that'll be a problem. I also think with our ability to take guys one-on-one off the dribble, I don't think we're going to become a live or die by the 3. But when you are hitting at this high of a clip, it's easy to become one of those teams. And very rarely do your high volume 3-point shooting teams make a deep run at March because you're bound to have an off game. I mean, the last 6 or 7 years, really the only exception I can think of is Bama last year, where, you live and die by the 3 and they didn't seem to have an off night really during most of the tournament. So most of the time, you're going to have an off night and it doesn't really translate well to the tournament. So as long as they can avoid that, that's my big, hey, don't start doing that. We should be good.
Exactly. And then you can't talk about this James Madison game without talking about the fantastic step back from Aiden Kelly at the end of the game, just putting it in the bucket.
Yeah, definitely good to see that shot go in. So I know everyone there at the game loved it too. So that was definitely really good.
Yeah. And so, I think Arkansas set itself up. You finished non-conference play against some really tough teams, the entire Elite Eight from last year, and you
Yeah,
finished 10-3, the same record that Tennessee has coming into this matchup on Saturday. So you got to be feeling really good as you finish non-conference play. Yeah, you maybe wish you could have grabbed one of those close big time games against Michigan State or
yeah,
Duke or Houston, but still beating, getting that win against Louisville at home, beating Texas Tech, still great wins. And
yeah.
at the end of
Man,
the day, I think this
Tennessee
team.
does worry me a little bit. They definitely play at a lot slower pace, but they're very controlled with how they play. They rebound offensively. 15 offensive rebounds a game, fifth in the nation, very high. Also, we do have two common opponents on the season. Both of us played Houston on neutral court. We lost by 9. They won by 3. And then both of us also hosted Louisville, where we won by 9, but Tennessee pulled out a 21-point win.
Mhm.
So, in terms of those common opponents, they fared better than we did on those. But I think the big storyline for this game is going to be Nate Ament, where quite a few people did think he was going to be in a Razorback jersey this season. And he's been pretty solid for him so far. So he's going to be one to watch for sure. I think we're going to have our hands full trying to guard him for sure. I expect TB to be guarding him a lot. And I think he'll definitely have his work cut out for him. But them as a whole, it's going to be a tough game for sure. I'm just glad it's here and not there.
Right. And I was going to say the thing that it's going to be looking in to see how it's going to go is your point, they play more of a slower style ball. Can Arkansas speed them up and force bad shots? Or on the flip side of it, what you don't want to see is do they slow Arkansas down, which throws them out of rhythm, like we just mentioned,
Yeah.
really rely on those fast break points. If they slow you down, that's going to kind of put a damper on those. So,
Yeah,
it's going
and
to
I think
hopefully.
that's kind of almost like how Houston was doing with us for a while early on. I think, if you can slow us down, it's definitely almost a weak spot for us that we're having to kind of address and fix as the season progresses. But that's definitely what worries me is I feel
Mhm.
like Tennessee might be able to slow us down a little bit. And so if that happens, hey, if it's a 60 something to 60 something game, I feel a little bit less comfortable with it than if it's an 80 something to 80 something game.
Right. And I think
So,
one of those big factors is, you got to get the crowd in it early. Everybody
yeah,
show up to Bud Walton, get there, be loud, same type of environment you had against Louisville.
for
Um,
sure.
and, get in on them early. And I think that'll really benefit Arkansas. So, but when you look at it and look at Tennessee, so, you mentioned Nate Ament, he's their second leading scorer with 15.4 points a game, 6.9 rebounds. Um, and he's shooting 39.5% from the field, 77% from uh, the free throw line. But Jacoby Gillespie, as we talked about last time a little bit, is their leading scorer, plays 31.2 minutes a game, 17.8 points, 2.8 rebounds, 5.8 assists, 1.2 steals, shoots 43% from the field, 87.8% from the free throw line, and 35% from deep.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely their 1-2 punch. Like you've said, I'll take our guards over almost everyone. Um, Gillespie's going to be a really tough matchup. I do still take our guards. The thing that worries me is if you look at the points per game for them, number 1 for them is a guard. 2, 3, 4, 5 are all forwards. So they like to play. They get their posts involved a lot. So that's where it's going to worry me a little bit. Is I feel like it's going to be a big challenge for our post. So that's going to be tough.
And
That's
this
where I
that's
feel
where you're
like
gonna have
especially if
to
we get
put
a
the
game with Madison to see kind of the post presence that we had defensively. Now you just got to carry that confidence over to the next game.
right, and that's where you're gonna put the emphasis, especially all week, this rest of the week as they went through practice and Cal, putting emphasis on, hey, guys like Pringle, we're gonna really need you to step up here, amp up your game. Malik, you and continue to play like you have. TB play well. Even Carter, you're gonna have to step up and play well. down low since you play in one of our 4-5 spots. So those four guys are going to be critical to stopping some of these guys, especially like we said, Nate Amen, their second leading scorer. So if you can have Darius, DJ, and maybe a guy like Malik help shut down Gillespie, and then let those other guys focus on the bigs.
Yeah, and of those 4 posts, 2 are 6'11", 1 6'10", and 1 6'8". But the 6'8" one, Jalen Carey, he's 6'8", at least according to ESPN, he's 267.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be a big body down there. He's going to be playing pretty physical, I got a feeling. So that's going to be a tough matchup to watch. Not to watch. It'll be interesting. But definitely got our work cut out for us. So there might be, I can also see just, hey, if we come down, hit a 3, and they come down, just take it to the post and, solid post work and get either a powerful dunk or a good finish. I can see that kind of deflating the crowd a little bit. So that's another big worry I got on it, being realistic with it. So that's one I'm just kind of keeping an eye out for.
Right. And that's where I think, like we mentioned, having the home crowd on your side is going to be good, and having it opening up at home. And I think this could be, compared to last year, a big tone setter game for Arkansas. Everybody knows and how last year starting 0-5 in conference play, and then being able to go on that
behind
run.
the 8 ball first, and we had to kind of work our way out of that. So yeah,
and I think
definitely don't start the same way.
Yeah, and I think if you look at it too, it's like we mentioned, if you can get the win here, you're not looking at a ton of other teams in conference play that are going to really challenge you a ton. Tennessee's probably one of the better teams in the SEC along with us. And so I think, you get a win here, open up conference play with probably one of the tougher teams. The rest of your schedule, you've set yourself up to, yes, I'm not going to say other teams are bad, but this year's SEC isn't last year's SEC where you get 16 teams in. So
it's a good thing it's not last year's SEC, because last year's SEC was a full-on gauntlet, top to bottom. So I mean, there's no realistic way this year's SEC was going to be the same as last year. Last year was good on a historical stance as far as the conference goes. So, I didn't see any way that it would replicate last year. So this, I feel like it's going to be more of kind of a realistic, not last year's unrealistic, but this might be more of a realistic conference breakdown in terms of who the powered teams are. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, because looking at it in top 25 so far as it sits, you've got 6 teams from the SEC sitting in, 11 or below, Vanderbilt being the highest, ranked 11th. But as we've discussed previously, they haven't really played anybody. And not trying to,
No. I'm just saying, I think with
easy schedule. So
I think there would be 4 or 5 other SEC teams that would also be undefeated with their non-conference schedule.
Right.
Not trying to bash Vanderbilt at all. I'm just saying, hey, it's one of those where, hey, okay, like once you play like a top tier team, then we can go from there.
Right. Because it's like, yeah, it's great. You're 12-0, and we're 9-3, but look at who we've played, comparative to Vanderbilt and some of these other teams in the SEC. Like Vanderbilt's toughest opponent, if I look through their schedule that they played in non-conference, is probably Memphis, who Arkansas beat in.
And we'll find out next Wednesday when they host Alabama. So, I mean, South Carolina might be a good team Saturday, but South Carolina hasn't really shown me anything like, oh, they're going to be a really, really good team. So I think the first big challenge comes when they host Bama next Wednesday to see just how good this team really is.
Yeah, and because if you look at Bama, very much battle tested, just like we are. They played the teams they played in the non-conference. They second game of the season they beat St. John's. They take the loss to Purdue. They beat Illinois. They lose to Gonzaga. They lose to number 1 Arizona at the time. So, they're along the lines of what we are, playing a really tough non-conference. So,
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. I'm
Yeah,
just excited for conference season to be here.
exactly. We've turned the new year, first conference game, first game of 2026 for this Arkansas basketball team, and it's time to lock in and get ready to go. So,
Yes, sir.
and so as we continue on a bulk of the show, as you can, see by the title we've talked about, we are on transfer portal eve, and depending on where you live, the portal opens up at 11 o'clock tonight. So, expect these next 2 weeks for Arkansas and the entire landscape of college football just be uh fast, intense chaos of guys committing, visiting, getting visits scheduled, and things like that. So when you talk about the transfer portal for Arkansas, we talked about it before we just jumped on here, and oddly enough, going into this week, I was sitting here, Zane and I've got this all tracked out on a nice, fun color coded spreadsheet, looking back. Okay, not a ton of guys, enter the portal. We've got a decent amount of retention, and then, an influx over the past 2 to 3 days of guys entering.
Now we're looking at 26 players for Arkansas entering the portal.
Right.
15 of those on the defensive side of the ball. So,
Which
kind of our point we talked about a few weeks ago. Hey, cleaning house on the defensive side, obviously I hate losing some of those guys, but it wouldn't shock me to see us go out and get some guys on the portal. But obviously, it's all speculation now until it actually opens up. So,
and one thing to remember too is some of these guys are saying, "Yeah, I'm going to enter the transfer portal," and depending on how Silverfield feels about it, these guys could easily just decide to come back too. It doesn't mean it's end all be all once they
doesn't mean
say
hey,
they're
I'm
entering the
gone.
portal.
It's hey, I'm at least exploring other options. So,
and so one of the things that is going to be crucial, we knew Arkansas was going to have to go out and really attack the portal on the defensive side of things, but one main group now that you're going to have to really tackle on the offensive side of the ball is going to be your quarterback room, because as of right now, it's just KJ Jackson. It's like that meme you see go around of Will Smith just standing in the living room on that last episode of Fresh Prince, and he's just like,
just me. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And so, that's going to be one of the big focuses is, let's go out and get somebody that can push KJ for that starting job. Iron sharpens iron, like the saying goes. And then on top of that, let's go get in a couple of maybe young developmental guys that can, come in and maybe compete in the next year or so. One of the names that has already been thrown out there is the quarterback from East Carolina, Caden Hauser. A guy that is very proven, is very experienced, and if you look at his stats, he threw for 3,300 yards, 19 touchdowns with 6 interceptions this past season. And then also added 193 yards and 9 touchdowns on the ground. So a threat with his legs as well, but a guy that could have some mutual interest with Arkansas. And then another guy that I would very easily expect to see at least visit Arkansas would be AJ Hill from Memphis, a guy that was a highly recruited kid last year, true freshman this year, didn't see a ton of action. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see him follow.
What I was kind of expecting. I was expecting he'd probably come along too. So,
and then there's gonna be a handful of other guys out there that Arkansas can attempt to go after. I know one of the names thrown out there that I think it's quieting down on is Hoover from TCU. Now the heat is that he's going to be the next quarterback at Indiana under Signetti. Since they're losing Mendoza, I've heard that he's really, or Indiana's really locked in on him. I know there'd been some potential, hey, he might be interested here in Arkansas, but
not gonna lie, I mean Mendoza's little brother looks pretty solid. So, but yeah, I mean it doesn't fully shock me.
Yeah, and so you you're going to want to go out there and get at least, I feel like, 3 guys to feel comfortable in that quarterback room. And with one of those being a very much capable guy that even if he doesn't win the starting job, but can push KJ,
Yeah.
injuries happen.
But that's what we said before the show. In case KJ goes down with an injury, you need someone experienced and capable to handle an offense. So, and right now, we don't have one. We don't have a quarterback at all. So, besides him, so
Right.
definitely look for them to get. I'd agree, probably 3 quarterbacks. I agree with one guy with some experience, then a couple other maybe younger guys that they can develop. I would expect Memphis's freshman quarterback to kind of follow Silverfield along. But that's just kind of my gut instinct saying, yeah, he's going to come along with him.
Right. And I think the other thing to think about, and I know there's no heat or smoke to this. It's something we talked about before. I've seen some people talk about it on social media over today, is that there's some thoughts on, is there still the potential for Arkansas to grab Kane Archer? I know the door was kind of shut whenever he did sign with Utah.
The main thing to look for is Michigan's quarterback, what he ends up doing. If he likes the coaching hire, he may come back. And if so, I would expect Kane Archer to reopen and go, maybe come here. I don't know if I see Kane Archer staying at Utah, though. I could be way wrong on that. I just have a hard time seeing that. I think he'll either follow to Michigan if their quarterback ends up leaving, maybe not as a starter, but as kind of a developmental piece like we've talked about we need, or maybe coming here or kind of re-exploring. But I don't know why. Just my gut's telling me I don't see him staying at Utah.
Yeah.
But and I know he hasn't entered the portal or asked out of his letter of intent, so I don't know. He could still stay at Utah. I could be way wrong on that.
Well, I know there had been some conversations where he's talked to former Razorback Peyton Hillis on part of, some of the news network. And, one of the conversations they were talking about is he was just talking about how he hadn't had a ton of communication with people at Utah since Whittingham stepped down. And
I'm like, that's another thing. It's like, is the new staff, are they going to really want him in? I mean, I think, yeah. But also, like, if you're looking big picture, is he technically a 3-star recruit?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm like, okay, it's not like coming in, he's going to be their top priority. You're talking about a team that's consistently in top 25. A 3-star recruit is not going to be their top priority when they get there. There's going to be other players ahead of him that they're probably going to prioritize trying to keep and retain. So that's just one where it's hard. Obviously, in his position, it's hard as well. But, if he doesn't come back here, or if he doesn't come here, obviously hope the best for him. He's an Arkansas kid. I want him to be successful. I just don't really know what to expect on that. I could see him going to Michigan. I could see him kind of re-exploring. But again, I don't really see him staying at Utah, especially with what you just brought up about their coaching staff not really reaching out too much now. That's kind of almost a red flag right away.
Yeah, I think the big thing to look at is, and he's made it very clear he would love to be a Razorback. And I mean, of course he would. And there was the talks of right as Silverfield got hired that he did try to call Greenwood's coach, but didn't get him, and that was the extent of it. But we'll see what happens. I think that would appease a lot of the Arkansas fans too, is if he
agree
swing him back.
If anything, like even if he's not the type of quarterback Silverfield wants, at least showing an effort to bring him here would appease a lot of the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
So even just giving that extra effort, and but see, that's the problem is I don't know if you want, hey, do I kind of make it known that, hey, we're trying to bring him to Arkansas now? Yeah, fan base likes it, but then if you don't get it, okay, well, what's that say about how people feel about us if we can't even keep an in-state kid coming here? So then that's kind of almost like a double-edged sword. yeah, it'd make the fan base happy, but also if you don't get him, then everyone's laying down you all of a sudden already. So that's kind of it's a tough situation to be in for coach.
Right. Because if you just look right now, I'm looking at 24/7 Sports, the transfer portal in the quarterback area, and have it sorted out here. No offense to Arkansas, but out of these top, I would say 6 or so guys, you're probably not going to be in line to get one of those guys. Number one, they've got ranked Brendan Sorsby, the kid out of Cincinnati. Drew
Yeah,
Mestamaker, he seems to be, from what I'm hearing, a lock to Oklahoma State following his coach. Why that makes a lot of sense.
makes sense.
DJ Lagway, who knows? There's talks that he could end up at LSU. You've got Dylan Raiola ranked as 4th. Deuce Knight from Auburn, who knows what he's going to do. Byron Brown from USF, wouldn't be shocked to see him go to Auburn following his coach in Golish. 7 is where I kind of start feeling like Arkansas can play in. Number 7, they've got Rocco Becht from Iowa State. Wouldn't mind seeing him come in.
I would not mind that too much.
Number 8, you've got Josh Hoover, the kid from TCU we were talking about. And then you jump all the way down to 14 is Caden Hauser. And then at number 19 is AJ Hill from Memphis. So, that's the area, some of those guys in between there. There's Kenny Minchney from Notre Dame, Aiden Childs from Michigan State, Bo Prabula from Missouri. I think a lot of Arkansas fans would be fine passing on him. He didn't necessarily impress me a lot this year. Aaron Philo from Georgia Tech, Lincoln Keenholtz from Ohio State, and those are the guys that kind of fall in between Hoover and Hauser. So,
so definitely some names to keep an eye on. Again, it's all speculation. Tomorrow it officially opens, so we'll see what happens there. But it'll be interesting for sure.
Another guy I would say keep an eye on. And if Arkansas fans recognize this name, it's because he had previously been potentially looking to come to Arkansas, is Aaron Nolan. He's end up choosing Ohio State initially coming out of high school, spent some time there, transferred to South Carolina, has been backing up Lenore Sellers into the transfer portal. 6'3", 220, 225, good size there, a guy that, maybe could revisit. It's like, hey, I visited Arkansas. Yeah, it's a little bit different coaching staff, but I had them narrowed down.
Reminds me of KJ Jefferson a lot. So
there's a handful of guys, and of course, Grayson Wilson, jumps in at number 39, ranked quarterback in the transfer portal right now. So but other than that, offensively, you're not too concerned. If I look across the offense for, we've got 3 running backs coming back with 1 freshman coming in. I'm going to assume there's a high probability that Sutton Smith is going to follow coach from Memphis. So, that would lock up a nice running backs room for Arkansas.
We still haven't heard from Cam Settles, or have we?
I haven't seen anything publicly anyway. And that's the tough part is it's like, we kind of try to chart this and keep up with this, but, not every single person is going to make an announcement. So it's like you're having to kind of,
our wide receivers, we still have quite a few.
Yeah. The big ones
9 that haven't said anything.
Yeah, because, for sure you've got C.J. Brown, Jalen Brown, Antonio Jordan, and Ismail Cisse. Andy Jean kind of flips it. Originally he was going to come back, then decides to enter the portal. But, you've got a handful of guys that you really haven't heard anything from, and that's the tough part is like, do you halfway assume they're just coming back and, there's no need to make a statement, or are they still undecided and kind of waiting to see how things shake out? And those guys, Courtney Crutchfield, Jacaden Ferguson, Cam Shanks, even a guy like Monte Harrison, that was injured most of the year. So, but I think wide receiver room, we're fine. The one that I'm interested to see, and we'll probably go out and try to bring in a guy or two, is the tight end room. Still haven't heard anything from Jaden Platt. Again, it's one of those things where maybe he's coming back and he's just not making a big deal about it and is saying, all right. We did see Jeremiah Beck, the kid that came in last year, decide to go in the portal. Rohan Jones, Andreas Puska out of eligibility. So you're going to need at least a body or two in the tight ends room. Offensive line. You got a handful of guys that have said they're coming back. Other than that, it's still one of those things where is everybody necessarily going to just come out and say, oh, we're coming back? So,
yeah, it's one of those okay, it's tough right now. Hey, silence up until tomorrow. Now, once the portal opens, you can have guys just put their name in the portal and not make a big post about it or anything.
Right.
But for now, it's just kind of speculation. Hey, haven't heard. Do we think he's coming back or going? Or, it's just kind of just a confusing time for college football as a whole as we enter this period now where there's just going to be, I'd say, almost some utter chaos. I feel like it's going to unfold. I don't know why, but I feel like there's going to be some kind of crazy transfers and all that, not just with Arkansas, but just kind of across college football. There will be somewhere we're kind of okay, really?
Right.
Kind of
and I think that's going to be
last year.
Yeah.
So, but obviously, it's worked out for Carson Beck. I mean, they beat Ohio State last night. So,
yeah. And so, the big parts where I'm going to be interested to see what we do is defensively, because, I mean, it's like they say, a lot of these guys, is coach necessarily clearing house or processing these guys essentially just saying, hey, we probably need to move on. And, the big part of that is some young pieces that, as we talked about before, we'd love to see stay, but are just either
because I mean, guys
on coaches.
On the team last year, we have 15 currently entering the portal on defense. We have 8 returning, and we have 17 that we have no answer from.
Right.
So, there's 15 gone, 17 more unknown, and only 8 of them coming back right now. So that's a lot of confusion and uncertainty on the defensive side of the ball. So it'll just kind of be interesting to see how all that plays out.
Right. And a majority of the guys coming back is on the D line, which you like to see.
Yes.
But that means you're going to have a whole new linebacker room.
We don't have a single D-back announced he's coming back yet, which is concerning.
Yeah.
So 2 linebackers, 6 D-line, and then no one in the secondary as of now.
Yeah.
From what I've seen at least.
The one big one that, at least in the linebacker room, you have 2 guys coming back, Wyatt Simmons, Preston Davis so far. The other guy that I would love to see decide to come back is Bradley Shaw. He's a great young linebacker that got a lot of playing time this year. Would be a great piece to have to build around. And then, in the defensive back room, the one guy that I thought might stay, that he was young talent, just has been plagued with injuries, is Selman Bridges, but then he officially entered the portal earlier today. So, and then we did get word that Scott Starzik, Arkansas's kicker that was ranked number 1 in his recruiting class, is coming back. So, with that announcement, we did see Blake Ford, who decided to enter the transfer portal in his second stint at Arkansas, was previous at Arkansas, then to North Texas, came back, and then so now Arkansas, who your kicker is going to be. And so, yeah, we're just really looking at, that's the tough part is, you have these unknowns. Are guys going to say anything, or are they just going to come back? And, that's the tough part when, especially for people like us and across the media, as you're trying to figure out, well, what does Arkansas really need? when you have a handful of guys sitting here
We
that
don't
haven't
know.
said anything. Right.
We don't
so,
know yet. We don't know what we need.
But I mean, you do know you're going to need depth, so that you're going to be going after some people,
Yeah.
especially DB room. Even if the rest of the ones say they're coming back, you're still losing. What is it? 11 guys. So you're going to need the depth there to be at least 2-3 deep at all your positions in that secondary. So
Yeah.
you do have a handful of guys coming in.
You're losing 11. You're coming in with 4 new freshmen.
And you can't necessarily count on freshmen. Yeah, sometimes some can come out and surprise you and really contribute, but you can't put all your eggs in that basket.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's definitely one where interesting to see who they go get.
Yeah.
I know, there are quite a few Memphis secondary players that have entered the portal or will enter the portal. So, some of their guys I'm not too upset about trying to get. A lot of experience there as well. So that could be kind of a nice little avenue of getting secondary players with some experience in. But I feel like that's kind of standard for anyone that brings in a new coach is, you can expect a handful of guys to follow him. So I feel like we will need more than just those guys, though, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see kind of who we go after and what experience level they have.
And I think the big thing, too, is there's been all this talk about, as of now, Silverfield's getting the support. We have the money. Well, now it's going to be, can Arkansas go out and play and get some of these top guys? We've seen, over the past couple of seasons in the transfer portal, we'll get maybe 1, 2, or 3 like big time names. And then the other guys are just, okay, average guys. But I think with the roster turnover that you're seeing right now,
that, so
yeah, it's like, can you go out there and compete with, the big boys, if you will, and get some of these high end names and be able to pay these guys?
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see as well. We're looking at a lot of different things come portal opening tomorrow that we'll kind of be tracking. Obviously, we may have some more answers come Sunday, but obviously we may not have many answers at that point. We just may have kind of a clearer direction on who we're looking at. So just kind of ready for tomorrow to see what all happens and how it goes from there.
And I think the big thing too is, it's really going to be telling. You look at the steps that we talked about for Coach Silverfield. All right, he came in and essentially won the media. Check. He said all the right things. He came in, flipped, some of the in-state recruiting, last minute with 3 days before signing day. Check. All right, well, the next piece of this is have success in the transfer portal. That's going to be this next step that we're wanting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, so it'll definitely be interesting to see.
And so, yeah, like Zane said, Sunday could be a fun day to talk about, who Arkansas's picked up and whatnot. But the one thing I will say that I would expect, at least myself, tomorrow to see is you got to think those guys that are coming over from Memphis that are following Silverfield. You should have the announcement from those guys pretty quick because they've had this whole span since he left to kind of make up their mind. I'm sure he's had contact with them in some form or fashion. And he knows who's coming and who's not. And so, you should have your answer on at least those Memphis guys pretty quick tomorrow, I would think by tomorrow or Saturday. And then Sunday through.
We should hopefully have some of those guys resolved and announced by the time we're on Sunday evening.
Right.
So
it's going to be interesting, and we're going to keep up with this and track it all for you guys. And then, if we have any kind of crazy big time commits that we weren't expecting, maybe we do some type of quick little live. But if not, we'll be back on Sunday to recap everything and let you know where Arkansas's at and sitting at roster wise. But that kind of wraps it up for us. You've got Georgia Ole Miss playing right now, 21-12.
Georgia's got a big scoop and score.
Yeah, 21-12 with 2.5 before halftime. You did see Luke has scored touchdown for Ole Miss in this one, but they just got the ball back and seeing if they can do something before half. But other than that, we'll talk about the other games that we saw last night and today in the college football playoffs. It all starts last night with Miami doing the getting the
Was
surprise
not
upset
expecting
over
that one.
Ohio State.
Was not expecting that one. Personally, there's three teams I really hate in college sports. It is Notre Dame, Ohio State, and then primarily for basketball, Duke. But I don't know. Me personally, seeing Notre Dame get snubbed and then Ohio State losing that game last night, I loved it. Great way to ring in the new year, personally. But yeah, was not really expecting that one. I was expecting more along the lines of like 28-17 Ohio State or something like that. So it was definitely kind of a shock, but a good shock for me.
Yeah, I agree. And what I said is Miami had some things going in their favor. They had their really tough defense, but what I said is, with it being that second round of the playoffs, they didn't have to go to Ohio State where it's cold.
Exactly. And now, granted, Indiana broke the record or whatever, but that game last night and then the early game today, you saw, I'm drawing a blank. Oregon beat Texas Tech.
And
So
not
you
beat them, but they
saw,
blanked them.
yeah. So you saw before the Indiana game, teams coming off that bye were 0-6 against teams that played that first round. So now this game looks like, if it holds, Georgia will win if it holds. But Indiana was the first team to win coming off the bye. So that's definitely, I don't know if that's something that they may need to revisit on how to handle or something, but, it. I don't know if that's something that they may look to change just because the teams coming off the bye have struggled so much last year in
Right.
this.
And then, yeah, like you said, surprising to see Oregon blank Texas Tech, but especially with Texas Tech, the hype going into the season was, hey, they really put together and bought this really good roster, and they made it far, but wasn't enough. And then I think the big shocker to everybody, not necessarily that Bama lost,
Just how
the score.
badly they lost. And I found myself almost arguing with myself. I'm like, do I like this or do I not like this? Like, I don't like Alabama. I think most Hog fans don't. But like the SEC side of me is like, okay, put up a better fight than this.
Right. At
But
least
if there was any doubts of Indiana, they are phenomenal, and they're going to be a hard team to knock out.
mm-hmm.
It'll be a defensive match between Oregon and Indiana, though. Like I said, I think I said before the show, I can see that game being like a 10-7 final score. Like I can see that being a defensive front, just the way both those defenses played. Yes, or both defenses played today.
Right. And here's the thing, too. You look at it, and I know all the right pieces have to fall into place and whatnot, but like you look at Indiana, and be like, why not Arkansas? I mean, look at just where they were 2 years ago.
Every team is out there now looking for their Kurt Signetti.
Yep.
So I got a family friend who's an Indiana fan, grew up there. And, we were talking with him a little bit earlier today, and he goes, yeah, we were 3-9 2 years ago. And just the turnaround they've had is amazing. And there's not many coaches that can do that. So that's been amazing to watch.
Right. And I think
I love seeing a new team kind of at the top. I kind of do get tired of your Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State always up there. So it's nice to see a refreshing new team come in and be good.
Well, and I think the thing is everybody's talking about is it's like, he came in, Signetti, with the attitude of like he had all the success at James Madison. He's like, I just win. But everybody's like, oh, okay, yes, that was at James Madison, and they just moved up to the FCS level, from the FCS to FBS, and they're like, well, what is he going to be able to do at Indiana? They're playing in the Big Ten. You've got it, and then you had the restructured Big Ten that not only had Ohio State and Michigan, but then you added in Oregon,
Oregon,
USC, all these other
USC,
teams.
Washington, yeah.
And you're like, is he really going to be able to replicate that? And I mean,
sure enough,
he's done it.
Also, it is like killer mentality watching him coach, because they showed him at one point, I think it was 31-3 at the time, and he's sitting here just fully zoned in, not talking, just zoned in. And as soon as he sees something, he's like yelling, guys, like he is. There was no let up until that final whistle from him.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a fun one to watch. To see what Silverfield can do. I mean, not saying he's the next Kurt Signetti, but I mean, there's that potential out there. To see what they've done in Indiana. The big key takeaway for that is they've given him the resources he needs. Like the resources hasn't been a problem, and I think that's what even a guy like we've said it before on the show is it's like with Silverfield. Don't make the reason he doesn't succeed is because he didn't have what he needed.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And that's why I feel like if Silverfield is struggling or knocking what he needs, I feel like there's going to be a change made at AD before there's a change made at head coach.
Right.
With this go around. So, but yeah, and then yeah, I mean, it's been a great day of football games. I mean, granted, not really any nail biters so far today, but they were at least entertaining for a half. So,
yeah. So, with that, we'll get ready to wrap up here. Watch the rest of this Georgia Ole Miss game. See who is going to end up matching up with Miami in the next round in the Fiesta Bowl next Thursday, and then next Friday you will have Oregon and Indiana in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, and then you'll find out who's going to be playing for the national title after that. So until then, we'll with transfer portal season open up tomorrow, we'll keep you guys up to date. Like I said, we'll be back Sunday and recapping everything that happens between now and then. Before we wrap up and get out of here, you got anything else, Zane?
What's your score prediction for Arkansas, Tennessee?
Give me Arkansas winning 82-75.
Okay, I was literally thinking 83-76. So I think we'll both go Arkansas with a 7-point win.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely will take that. So what I don't want is a triple overtime winner loss. Like, I just feel like heart attack Hogs, we do not need that right now. But hey, if it results in a win, I'll be happy regardless.
Right. That's where at the end of the day, a win's a win.
For sure. So it wouldn't shock me at all to see almost a not head to head, but kind of a chip on the shoulder for Malik and Acuff versus Mint. And it wouldn't shock me to see, some point guard drives and try to get him in foul trouble. So picking on him just because he's the freshman, most likely get in foul trouble with it. But I also think they're not lack of elite guards, but in terms of like their scoring, they really only have the one guard that scores heavy. Right. So I feel like our guards will kind of be able to help out some in the paint if need be. But yeah, I did a little bit of research. I didn't have enough time to get all of it, but they only average 10 fast break points per game. Good for 199th in the country. So again, that's slow pace. 3-point shooting, they're okay. 154, 34%. So, it's one of those they love to just go into the paint. So that'll be kind of like we talked about earlier, just kind of a big challenge, I think, to see how it plays out.
Yeah,
But I think the home crowd will be the difference there.
I agree. And that's why I said that you need to make sure that this home crowd gets in there early. So it'll be a fun one to watch, and I'm ready to get conference play started. So it'll be a busy next few days for us and for Arkansas as basketball starts conference play. You've got the portal opening up. Hobbs will be back with us soon and start talking baseball, because before you know it, baseball is going to be here. Opening the season this year in Arlington. That second weekend of February. So before you know it, we're going to be having all the sports back up and rolling again. So,
Oh yeah, it'll be exciting for sure. So,
well, as we get ready to wrap up here, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. Make sure to hit that bell. That way you don't miss any type of notifications when we go live, whether it be our regular show or any emergency, quick podcast due to, something crazy happening in Razorback Nation. And so, with that, we're going to wrap up here. Everybody have a great rest of your week. Hopefully short day for people tomorrow on Friday, and good luck to the Razorback basketball team on Saturday. And then, we'll be back here with you on Sunday. So we'll wrap up and get out of here from Zane and myself. Everybody have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you on Sunday.